The battle between Victor Newman and Jack Abbott, two powerful figures in Genoa City, has always been the focus of attention not only for those in the industry but also for the public. Over the years, their relationship has never lacked tension, dramatic confrontations, and more than a few threats. However, this time, things seem to have gone beyond the usual level. From work, love to family relationships, their rivalry is becoming not only more intense but also more dangerous than ever. A long-nourishing feud. Victor Newman and Jack Abbott have a long history of conflict. Their relationship has gone through many ups and downs, from power struggles within the company to battles in love, especially involving Nikki Newman, the woman they both love. However, this rivalry has reached a new level since the incident at Athletic Club last year. This was an event that bled Victor's pride, making him unable to forgive Jack. This situation not only strained the relationship between the two, but also led to a series of dangerous events for both the Newman and Abbott families. Since then, Victor has been harboring revenge. He cannot let Jack, whom he considers his sworn enemy, continue to triumph. Victor's dissatisfaction has reached its peak, and now, he not only wants to defeat Jack in his work, but also wants to destroy everything Jack has built over the years. Victor's counterattack. Victor Newman, who has always been known for his manipulation and strategy, has embarked on a meticulous plan of revenge. He has decided to plant a spy in Jack's company, Jabot, with the aim of sabotaging the company from within. Victor's every move was carefully calculated, determined not only to bring Jack down but also to make him lose what was most precious to him. This was not only a business battle but also a psychological battle. Victor proved that nothing could stop him when he was determined. With sophisticated tactics, he began to weaken him from within, while ensuring that Jack would face irreparable defeat. The intervention of Claire Newman and Kyle Abbott. One of the highlights of Victor's revenge campaign was his determination to prevent the relationship between Claire Newman and Kyle Abbott. The fact that Claire, Jack's daughter, was starting to have a deep relationship with Kyle, Victor's son, made the confrontation between Victor and Jack more intense than ever. In Victor's eyes, this was not only a matter of family affection but also part of his strategy to weaken Jabot. When Victor sees that Claire and Kyle's relationship could become a threat to his plans, he begins to take steps to separate them. This is not the first time Victor has used his children as a card in his war with Jack. However, this time, things seem to be different. Kyle, who despite his young age has proven himself to be decisive in his work, is not as easily manipulated by Victor as he has been in the past. Worrying consequences. Despite Victor's sharp strategy and power, his moves begin to have unintended consequences. First is the rift within the Newman family. Many of Victor's relatives, including Nikki and Victoria, advise him to stop before it's too late. They know that this war is not just between two men, but it could destroy what they have built over the past decades. However, Victor, with his stubborn personality and unwavering determination, continues to embark on this path. Nikki, despite trying to convince Victor to stop, eventually finds herself caught up in a fight she does not want to be involved in. She knows that once Victor makes up his mind, nothing can stop him. Their relationship also becomes strained, and Nikki gradually struggles with Victor's decision. The impending crisis. With Victor's increasingly aggressive moves, a medical crisis may be looming ahead. If Victor's plan continues to escalate and shows no signs of stopping, Jack will face challenges not only in his work but also in his health and life. Under extreme pressure, whether Jack can maintain his spirit and health will be a big question. With the rigors of work and the constant battles, the pressure of this confrontation could take its toll on either Victor or Jack. It is certain that this war will not stop for a long time, and what happens in the coming months will have a profound impact on the entire Abbott and Newman families, as well as all of Genoa City. Victor Newman has built a solid empire for himself, not only in Genoa City but also throughout the business world. Considered a strategic genius, Victor is not only famous for his ability to run giant companies but also for his decisiveness and ruthlessness in dealing with his enemies. However, no one can avoid time, and with increasing age, Victor's health has begun to become a concern, not only for those around him but also for himself. A giant who cannot admit his limits, Victor Newman has always stood out as a strong, unbeatable man. Even in the most difficult times of his life, he has maintained his power and influence, not only in his family but also in his work. However, his relentless efforts to maintain his position are making Victor's health a growing concern. Despite his age and declining health, Victor continues to fight familiar enemies, including Jack Abbott, whom he has been fighting for many years. This battle is becoming more and more intense, especially when it is not only a business battle but also involves dark plots and plans for revenge and maintaining power. However, this stress may be the decisive factor in worsening Victor's health. Nikki and Michael Baldwin's concerns. Nikki Newman, Victor's wife and the person who knows best the stress he faces, has expressed her concerns about her husband's health many times. Although he always appears strong and determined, Victor cannot admit that he is having serious health problems, especially when he still has to face a series of threats at work. However, not only Nikki, Michael Baldwin is also one of the people who expressed concerns about Victor's health. Michael, who has been Victor's legal advisor and advocate for the Newman family for many years, is well aware of the stress he is under. The pressures from family, the company, and competitors can easily push Victor to the brink of physical illness. Having to deal with Jack, while also preparing for the arrival of Aristotle Dumas and the impact he could have on Chancellor Industries, must have put a lot of pressure on Victor. Rising tensions. The confrontation with Jack Abbott and the plan to deal with Kyle. The war between Victor and Jack has lasted for decades, and each time it flares up, it only adds to the never-ending conflict between the two families. Jack Abbott, with his pride and determination, has always been a formidable opponent for Victor. Although both are seasoned players in the business world, their relationship goes beyond that. The two have been fighting not only for power but also for emotional relationships, especially with Nikki, the woman they both love. Meanwhile, Victor still has to deal with his plans involving Kyle Abbott, Jack's son. Kyle, who is considered a promising successor to Abbott Enterprises, is not an easy name to take down. This forces Victor to resort to sophisticated tricks to sabotage Kyle's plans, while also preventing his relationship with Claire Newman. This relationship is not only part of ensuring the continuation of Jabot, but also part of Victor's long-term strategy. However, having to fight Jack while dealing with Kyle has created a huge tension. Victor is not only worried about protecting his business empire, but also facing conspiracies that could cost him everything. This has put a huge strain on his health that even those involved may not have realized. An unpredictable health risk. Although Victor has always been an extremely strong and resilient person, no one can withstand the ravages of time and prolonged stress. Victor's health has begun to show signs of deterioration, and no one can say for sure that he will continue to endure these challenges without serious consequences. Stress can lead to dangerous health problems such as heart attacks or strokes, something that everyone in the Newman family and those around him are worried about. Is stress too much? While it is likely that stress is a major factor in Victor's health problems, it is also important to analyze external factors such as Michael and the plots behind them. Without timely intervention from his family and those around him, Victor could face a serious health crisis. But can anyone stop this battle before it is too late? It is still too early to predict, but one thing is certain. Victor Newman will face challenges not only in his work but also in his personal life. There will be upheavals and no shortage of complicated relationships, especially between powerful and influential figures such as Michael Baldwin and Victor Newman. Michael, a talented and steadfast man in his work, has long served as Victor's trusted advisor. However, this relationship is seriously tested when Michael's wife, Lauren, constantly expresses concerns about his loyalty to Victor. These concerns stem from the realization that Victor, while a strong man, is not without his negative traits and dangerous decisions that could threaten the lives of those around him. Meanwhile, Michael remains steadfast in his loyalty to Victor, believing that he can serve as a voice of reason for his boss. But amid rising tensions and conflicts between forces, will Michael continue to maintain the balance between his loyalty to Victor and the personal and family values he has always held dear? Loyalty and internal conflict. Michael Baldwin is a man of loyalty, especially to those he considers family, including Victor Newman. This loyalty is not simply about working for Victor, but also about believing that he can help Victor see things more clearly and rationally. Over the years working alongside Victor, Michael has proven himself to be a trustworthy person, not only in his work but also in the complicated family matters of Newman Enterprises. However, as Victor's relationship with others, especially Jack Abbott, becomes more strained than ever, Michael's loyalty to Victor begins to be tested. Michael's wife, Lauren, has always felt that her husband's loyalty to Victor is not always wise. She worries that Michael is so devoted to Victor that he ignores important warnings from family and friends. Lauren is not the only one who feels this way. Nikki, a close friend of the Newman family, also expresses concern about Michael's continued siding with Victor at critical times. She believes that Victor, with his tough personality and uncompromising nature, can put Michael in difficult situations, and even unforeseen threats. Michael and his sympathy for Jack Abbott. One of the important factors in the conflict between Victor and Michael is the relationship between Michael and Jack Abbott. Although he still sides with Victor, Michael cannot deny that he feels a certain sympathy for Jack, Victor's arch-rival. Jack, although an ambitious person and can sometimes be ruthless in his fight for power, is a person who can see things objectively and always puts his family first. This makes it impossible for Michael not to feel a closeness to Jack, especially when he realizes that Jack is under no small amount of pressure from the war with Victor. Michael also cannot deny the close relationship between Jack and Diane Jenkins, with whom Michael has maintained a long-standing friendship. Diane, despite her troubled past, is a woman with many strengths and hidden corners that only those close to her can understand. This makes it even more difficult for Michael to find himself in the middle of two powerful men with different strategies and goals. While Victor and Jack are constantly fighting for dominance, Michael is trying to maintain peace in his family. He does not want this conflict to affect his relationship with his relatives, especially Lauren and the Abbott family. Michael always hopes that by maintaining a friendly relationship with Jack and Diane, he can ease the tension between the two families. However, this puts him in a great challenge. Can he continue to maintain his loyalty to Victor without compromising his family values and the safety of his loved ones? Rising tensions and pressure on Michael as Victor and Jack's relationship becomes more strained, especially when Victor's revenge strategies against Jack begin to take decisive turns. Michael must shoulder a heavy psychological burden. Not only does he have to face difficult decisions at work, but he also has to protect the Abbott family from Victor's attacks. As Victor's mentor, Michael knows that any advice or action he takes can greatly affect the final outcome of this war. However, the deeper Michael gets into this war, the more he realizes that maintaining absolute loyalty to Victor may not be the right decision. Although his boss has always helped him in the past, Michael also realizes that there are things that cannot be ignored anymore. Victor's ruthless strategies not only hurt those around him, but also make Michael question whether he is sacrificing too much for this loyalty. However, in Michael's eyes, the most important thing is to protect his family and maintain stability in his personal life. He cannot let the war between Victor and Jack harm the people he loves. Michael hopes to find a way to ease the tension between the two families, while still protecting the important relationships in his life. But can he succeed in this when Victor and Jack's fierce determination is pushing everyone into an inevitable confrontation? Michael's path. Important decisions. With the pressure mounting, Michael will have to make important decisions. Will he continue to stand by Victor, even though he knows that it may cause him to face unpredictable consequences? Or will he choose a different path, where he can maintain family values and friendship without sacrificing too much? One thing is for sure, with his strong will and deep respect for those he loves, Michael will not give up easily in his search for a balance between loyalty and personal responsibility. With this conflict escalating, Michael will be faced with a decision that could change his life forever. Michael Baldwin, the Newman family's trusted and talented lawyer, has always been known for his steadfastness and ability to handle complex situations with a sharp mind. However, in recent days, Michael is facing a huge challenge, as he has to juggle not only his work responsibilities but also his complicated family relationships and friendships. And, in a tense turn of events, the big question is, could Michael be facing a heart attack or another serious health crisis? Victor's heavy responsibility and stress. Victor Newman, whom Michael has served for a long time, is not only Michael's boss but also his mentor and important mentor. However, with Victor's complicated relationships and fierce confrontations going on between him and rivals like Jack Abbott, Michael is feeling enormous pressure from all sides. Recently, Victor has assigned Michael an extremely important mission: to discover the truth behind the situation of Aristotle Dumas, a character who could change the course of the entire Chancellor Industries. With a very careful and intelligent personality, Michael cannot ignore any details in this investigation. He understands that the success of this mission is not only meaningful to his career but also affects the stability of the Newman family. Michael not only faces risks at work but also has to maintain personal relationships in family and friends, especially when the situation between Victor and characters like Jack and Diane becomes more and more tense. Stress and trade-offs. There is no denying that the job that Michael is undertaking is very complicated and challenging. Solving many relationships at the same time, facing Victor's revenge and important decisions in the family, Michael is feeling extremely stressed. Although he may not show it, these pressures have begun to seriously affect his health. Prolonged stress not only affects his mind but can also cause serious health problems. The human heart cannot withstand invisible pressures forever, and a heart attack can happen at any time if this condition is not resolved. Not to mention, Michael may also experience other health crises related to stress or fatigue, especially if he does not take enough time to rest or take care of himself. Will Michael face a heart attack? The question is whether Michael could face a heart attack in his current stressful situation. The stress from work, family relationships, and friendships puts a huge mental burden on Michael. However, whether the screenwriter will actually put Michael in a serious health crisis is still a big question mark. While this plot twist could create powerful waves in the story, it could also be a tactic to highlight Michael's resilience and inner strength, who is always ready to face difficulties, no matter what the pressure. Furthermore, while Michael is dealing with these stresses, another factor is also raising concerns: Cole Howard, J. Eddie Peck. A character who seems to be on the verge of a medical crisis. This coincidence makes the situation even more complicated and dramatic. Will Cole be the one facing a health crisis, or will Michael be the one to suffer the consequences of this stress? Will the writers put Michael and Cole in danger? With the increasingly tense relationships and the constant pressure on Michael, we can't rule out the possibility that the writers will have him face a dangerous health situation. This would be a way to highlight the stress in Michael's life and also an opportunity for the other characters, especially Lauren, to show deep concern for him. However, it's also possible that this is just a means to add drama to the story without going too far. Having Michael face a heart attack or other health crisis would not only be a major turning point in his life, but would also deeply affect his relationships with Victor, Lauren, and other loved ones. It could also be an opportunity for Michael to take stock of his life, make important decisions about his future, and his relationships with the important people in his life. Michael's future, work-family balance. It is clear that Michael is facing enormous challenges, and finding a balance between work and family will be a determining factor in whether he can overcome these difficulties. While loyalty to Victor remains an important factor in Michael's life, he also needs to realize that his health and that of his family always come first. The big question is whether Michael can maintain stability in his personal life without letting work and relationship tensions ruin everything. Michael's future, not only in his work but also in his personal life, will depend on his ability to find a balance between his responsibilities and his health, his loyalty and his family values. If he can't protect himself, can Victor or his loved ones help him realize that sometimes standing up to life isn't just about winning, but also about letting go and taking care of yourself? Michael's story, no matter how it plays out, will surely continue to captivate audiences as we watch him face the biggest challenges of his life, not only in his work but also in his personal life.